This is an overview of some of the key ideas about loops in Java. Java programs typically execute code in order, line by line, but loops allow you to repeat blocks of code until some condition is met. Java has three main types of loop: the while loop, the do while loop, and the for loop. The while loop repeats a block of code as long as a specified condition is true. While loops are good to use when you don't know ahead of time how many times the loop needs to run. One common use of a while loop is when you need to read input from a user that meets some condition. You don't know how many times the loop will need to execute in order to get the right input from your user. The while loop syntax includes a Boolean expression and the loop body code. The loop body executes as long as the condition evaluates to true. Another way to say that is that the loop body repeats until the condition is false, and then the loop will stop. The basic flow of control is to check the condition, and if it's true, execute the loop body. We then repeat that process again and again, check the condition, execute the loop body, until the condition is false. In this example, we want to read in a positive number from the user. We loop as long as the number is invalid, meaning that as long as the number is less than or equal to 0. We check the condition first, and if the number is invalid, we enter the loop. Inside that loop, we read in a new number, and then we repeat the process. We check the condition, enter the loop, and this continues until the expression is false. In this case, that means when our number is positive. We then exit the loop and execute the code that comes after the loop. In a while loop, make sure your condition is updated inside that loop body, or else you'll be stuck in an infinite loop. And remember that the condition is checked at the beginning of each iteration, before the code is executed. So it's always possible that the code in the body of a while loop will never execute. Another loop in Java is the do while loop. The do while loop is also good for when you don't know in advance how many times the loop will run. The difference with the do while loop is that the condition is checked after the body of the loop is executed. So a do while loop will always execute at least one time. The syntax of the do while loop includes the do keyword, the loop body, and the while keyword, followed by a Boolean expression and then a semicolon. Just like while loops, do while loops are good for when you need to continually read in values until a value meets some criteria or until some sentinel value is entered, such as when you tell a user, enter Q to quit. Note that any variable declared inside the loop body will not be visible in the do while condition. You can only use variables declared outside the do while loop in the condition. In this example, if we had declared word inside the loop, meaning the string declaration part was inside the loop rather than outside, this code would not compile. Oftentimes, like the example where we wanted to read in a positive number, a do while loop might actually be the most appropriate. But even in these situations, the while loop is just much more commonly used. The third kind of loop is a for loop. The for loop repeats for a specific number of times. Common times when you use a for loop is to read a specific number of values, process array elements, iterate through elements in a list, or iterate through characters in a string. The for loop controls have three parts: the initialization, which happens once at the start, the condition, which is checked before each iteration, and the update, which happens at the end of each iteration. The loop body is there as well. The basic flow is to first initialize the code, execute the initialization code. Then we check the condition, and if it's true, we update the body. We execute the body of the code. We then execute the update. And we repeat this starting again at the condition. So after that initialization has happened once, it doesn't happen again. We just repeat the loop by checking the condition, if it's true, executing the code, and then executing the update. Checking the condition, executing the code, executing the update. Just like a while loop, because that condition is checked before entering the loop, it is possible that the body of a for loop will never execute. The for loop is best for when the number of iterations is known or can be calculated. Note that the number of iterations might not be a constant. It might be a variable, a value entered by a user, or the length of a list or an array, but it's a known quantity represented by either a number or a variable. In this example here, we're reading in 10 words from the user. Note that all sections of the for loop are technically optional, but it's best to include them all to enhance readability. You'll most often see increment and decrement statements like I++ or I minus minus for the update, but the update can be any arithmetic expression. Also note that your condition can be a more complex condition that uses an AND or an OR to combine multiple Boolean expressions. Finally, note that your for loop inside the for loop controls is one of the only places in Java where using a single letter variable name is actually common and best practice. Nesting loops involves placing one loop inside another. In a nested loop, the inner loop executes fully for each single iteration of the outer loop. Nested loops are often used when working with two-dimensional data like matrices or tables. In general, always write your code so that it'll be readable and easy to maintain. Choose the most appropriate type of loop for each situation. Always use brackets, even when the loop body is just a single statement and so brackets aren't technically required. It's best practice to still use them. Always indent the loop body inside of your loop controls. Java ignores white space, but us human readers need it. A couple of final caution notes about loops. The code inside of a loop body is its own block of code. Variables declared inside that loop body are only visible inside the loop body. And they're actually only visible inside one single iteration of the loop. So variables declared inside the loop are garbage collected after one iteration and declared again with the next iteration. If you want to track data over multiple iterations of a loop, be sure to declare the variable outside the loop. Be careful to avoid infinite loops by making sure that your condition will eventually be false, meaning the loop will end. And be careful of off by one errors. Pay attention to whether you should use less than or equal to, or greater than versus greater than or equal to. Think about whether border cases should be included in your loop or not. Avoid using the double equal sign and the not equal sign in your condition and opt instead for relational operators like less than, greater than, and less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Enjoy using loops in your Java code.